greetings, and salutations, one and all.
Hello. I like how every time we start this podcast, Ed has like this epic like introduction and welcome for the podcast, and I'm always like, hey.
Hello.
What's up?
I like it. It's a nice contrast.
It's our thing.
I like it.
It's what we do.
Yeah, of course.
It happened on accident, so we'll just keep with it.
Yeah, no sense doing any more work than we have to, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Already have so much work
Just
to do.
simplify this one thing.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Crimes Against Folk. My name is Edward Williams.
I'm Ashley E. Norton.
And we're coming to you live today from both California and Arizona simultaneously.
Ooh.
We use a variety of things to make this happen. Things like Jamulus and Restream, OBS, Loopback, all sorts of fun little softwares and gadgets. And of course, we couldn't do this without your support and your patronage. So thank you very much for tuning in today.
Yeah. Thank you.
How's it going, Ash? Are you the sky's orange where you are still?
Oh, yeah. We went for a hike last night, which probably was a dumb idea, but I'm like, I can't go to a gym, because of the pandemic, and I can't really I don't really have a space to work out inside. So I do my yoga on the patio, which is also outside. So we're like, well, let's just go for a hike. And it was so smoky. And of course, the higher we got, the smokier it got. So by the time, and we did a pretty intense hike because I really wanted to get a good workout in. And we did it at night. There was hardly anybody there, which was cool. We went to Potato Chip Rock. Have you heard of that?
Potato Chip Rock? No.
Yeah, it's like 10 minutes from my house. It's awesome. It's a paved hike, which is partly why we did it, because it was nighttime. It was kind of, it's safer to do the paved hikes at night. And there's this really cool rock formation that hangs at the very top of the hike, and it just kind of hangs over the valley. You kind of have to jump up to the rock formation, and everyone wants to take pictures on this rock because it's so cool looking.
Cool.
And you get on the edge, and then Brad snapped some photos. But it was crazy because, and I'll have to share the photo with you, Ed, and maybe we can put it in the show notes or something. It'll probably be on my Instagram page this week if you follow me at Vagabond Voice. But it's crazy because everything is white. It's me on this floating rock, and then everything is white. And then I went down a little bit. And Brad snapped another kind of cool looking photo of me overlooking the city because you could see the city lights behind us, and everything it looked like clouds, but it was smoke. It was just covered in smoke. And by the time we got home, we were both coughing. We woke up this morning, our eyes, you can kind of probably see it now. My eyes are so swollen from all this. It feels like I smoked 3 packs of cigarettes last night, and I've never smoked in my life. So that's not true. I didn't really. Okay, whatever. We'll just stop it there. Campfire? Lots of campfires.
Yeah. Oh boy, that's a bummer. I hope
it's crazy.
people are staying safe out there.
Yeah, well, it's so much better here in SoCal than it is in NorCal.
Oh, yeah.
So in Washington, I know our friend Emma's watching right now from Seattle. So hopefully you're safe up there, Emma.
Yeah, it's really bad up north.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Just, just when you think things can't get worse.
Right. I just want to have a quick shout out to today is Miko Gilliam's birthday.
Happy birthday, Miko.
If you don't know him, he also went by John Doe. He performed the rap verse on our song, our album recording of Parallel Universe. So, I've known him since kindergarten. So,
well, tomorrow is my nephew's birthday.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. Curtis.
Curtis.
So happy birthday to Curtis, too.
Yay, Curtis.
Even though we're a day early.
How old is Curtis?
God, I think he's going to be 9.
Oh, my gosh.
I think he turns 9. Yeah, I know. My oldest niece, Grace, just turned 12.
Yeah.
I'm not old enough to have a 12-year-old niece, you guys. It's just,
That's amazing.
It's not possible.
Well, today we have a fantastic guest joining us
Yep.
for the chat. Her name's Silvia Legat. She owns a tea shop in Cologne, Germany, appropriately named Tea de Cologne.
Mm-hmm.
And how did we meet Silvia?
We met her through Charlie Hole. Do you remember
That's
Charlie
right.
Hole? We
Yes.
played a show with Charlie. It actually was the Bournemouth show that we did with Billy Bragg that we talked about on
So Far.
Yeah, that we talked about on a previous episode. And afterwards, the next day we went out to breakfast with Charlie, and I said, well, we haven't been to Germany yet, but we want to tour Germany next year. And he said, well, I have some great Germany connections for you. So he gave me the email address for Silvia so we could contact her about doing a show, as well as a couple others that did pan out. So Charlie Hole is a great connection, I messaged her and she loved our music and invited us to play, and we did that 2 years in a row. And also in the meantime, Silvia became a very dear, one of my closest friends through the last couple of years, and just a friend of Witherward's, a friend of Ed's, and we've shared some incredible experiences together.
Yeah, it's been fantastic, and it's been just fun seeing Cologne with Silvia. You know, we've kind of toured around a bit. Our friend Randy joined us for one of those, or one or two of those escapades, and that was really fun.
Yeah, he did. And we'll get to a story a little bit later about a couple other people who joined our journey, but I'm going to save that because it's part of our show and tell segment.
So rather than just tell you about her, why don't we invite her on?
Woo. And by the way, she just said in the chat that today is Tea de Cologne's birthday as well.
What?
Tea de Cologne is 17.
Oh my gosh, 17?
Yeah. That's what we can ask Silvia. Let's bring her on.
Almost old enough to vote in this state.
I don't know how much good that does in Germany. But.
Right. All right, let's see. Let me give her a call here.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, there she is.
How are y'all?
This is so perfect because I was going to message you and be like, oh, can we get on a chat this week and do like a little catch up? And then I realized that you were going to just be on our show. So now we're having our catch up for the whole world to see.
We're just pretending it's just us, like always.
That's the plan.
Yeah. How are you doing?
Good. It's been a cozy Sunday in Germany today. Sunny, warm. So very nice.
Oh, that's nice. I know when the weather gets nice there in Cologne, it's actually really nice. We've had a few nice days, and I'm wearing my I don't know if you can see, but I'm wearing my Gamescom shirt today that I got in Cologne last year.
Yeah,
that was
this
cool.
year there wasn't any Gamescom, and then they did it like virtually. You could, I don't know what you could do, but
yeah, I saw that. They had a bunch of just videos and live streams and stuff like that, but it was still kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
No better place to do a live stream than a bunch of gamers.
Yeah.
They're the ones that can figure it out, right?
Yeah, no kidding.
But yeah, Ed, that's right. Ed was I think we were in Germany last summer.
Year. Yep.
And we had this weird block of time where we just didn't really know where to go or what to do. And Silvia was like, well, why don't you just come here and hang out with me? So we went back to Cologne after we'd already been there to play our show. And that's when we met up with Randy and our friend Randy. And I'm seeing these posters everywhere. I'm like, what is Gamescom? And Ed's like, Gamescom's like a huge deal. I'm like, well, you know what's happening like tomorrow here in Cologne, right? And he's like, there's no way I'm going to get tickets though. And then he did.
Yeah. I was like, even if I could get a ticket, I mean, the Gamescom's the biggest, like it's the biggest one in the world.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's no way I could afford it. It was like €20. So I went to Gamescom. Yeah. That was really fun.
Yeah.
But I
we
wanted
also,
to. We like when we invite people on. We love to have them share a story, from their kind of creative experience, whether they're creatives or not. And we know you're a big music fan. If you had kind of an interesting story or a kind of a memorable story you wanted to share, feel free to do so. Like, what do you got?
with you, connected with you, or
Oh, anything. It doesn't have to be
anything.
connected
Any
with us.
story.
It just pops into my mind how I met one of the musicians I invited. I was traveling on a Flixbus. I would spend the weekend in Paris, and I was sitting next to this woman. I had seen her before on the metro, on the subway, carrying a huge instrument, which I didn't know what it was. And then we didn't talk much on the bus, but then there was a little break, and we had a coffee by the roadside, and then we started to talk. And she said, "Yeah, I'm a musician. I'm from India. I play the sitar." So this traditional Indian instrument. Interesting. And I love music. And so we started talking. And it turned out she was based in the Netherlands for 3 months and touring Europe from there. And so I invited her to play at my shop. And like 4 weeks later, she played at my shop, sitting down on the floor in her beautiful traditional costume, the sari, and playing the sitar. So that was beautiful.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
I love the sitar too. I don't know if I've ever even seen a concert where I've heard one live.
We actually did.
We did?
Yeah. It was in Montana.
Go
when
on.
we played at that rail bar or whatever. One of the dudes played a sitar.
What a memory on you, Ed. I am seriously impressed.
It probably wasn't as nearly as good or as neat of a setting as a tea shop in Cologne, Germany, but we have seen it before.
Which was also one of the strangest experiences we've had on the road following, but we'll save that for another podcast. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, considering I don't remember it, then maybe we need a redo. Do-over.
What did she just play any kind of music? Or was it just was it traditional music? Was it just anything she wanted?
It appears that the sitar music is never fixed like songs, like fixed pieces. It's always improvisation. So she just sits there and starts with a very slow tunes, and then the speed picks up. And I think they've got 23 strings on that instrument, and then the speed picks up, and the fingers move so quickly you can't follow them, and there are morning meditations or whatever they call it, and evening pieces. So they follow a traditional rhythm, or I don't know, but it's not fixed songs. It's just you follow these patterns. Wow. And you make it up as you go, and you create magic. It's not 5 songs, but one huge song for like 45 minutes, and you sit there and listen, eyes closed. Beautiful.
That sounds so nice.
Yeah, that must have been the coolest thing ever. I can't imagine a better setting than a tea shop too.
Yeah,
it just seems kind of appropriate.
The best tea shop in the world. Yeah.
Best smelling place you could play at.
And happy birthday!
Yay!
Yeah, so Silvia, I know this story, but perhaps you can share with our listeners about how you got started hosting concerts at Tea Day Cologne.
Yes. So it's almost 15 years ago. So shortly after I started 17 years ago. And then about 1 year in, I decided that I wanted to do readings, like someone who has written a book or reads from a book to an audience, because I love that. And in my hometown, there was a bookstore that had a red couch, and the reader was sitting on that couch and reading. So I thought, okay, I don't have a bookstore, but I could do readings as well. But the first friend I invited, he hasn't written not only like poetry, but also songs. So he brought his guitar. So he cat. Okay.
Hi, Nelly.
Sorry.
Nelly.
So he not only read his poems, his poetry from his books, but he played a few songs. And I said, okay, man, guitar. Okay, that's something I could do. And then I asked another musician, an Irish musician I liked very much, and he had played for like 20 years at that time, and now it's almost 40 years, for small audiences in pubs, in clubs. So I asked him, I've got this small tea shop, and would you do a show for me? I said, yeah, of course I can. And he's been coming to my shop ever since, like 15 times now.
Wow.
And from that, he was the source for like a dozen Irish people, Irish musicians calling me, emailing me, to get a show as well, because they checked his tour plan, and let's phone there, let's email there, like you did with Charlie Hole. They share their contacts, and so all these Irish musicians called me. So I thought, okay, maybe I should have only twice a year, 2 a year, so that not too many Irish musicians. So two Irish musicians a year. But then I thought, okay, maybe I could ask someone else. Or people kept asking me, you do shows now, so can I play for you? I'm from Cologne, I do music, okay. And then it evolved, and nowadays I really can choose, and I get the best musicians in the world, like you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they all become friends, more or less. So they're always strangers. So they arrive, they sleep in my guest room. I invite them to my homes. I don't know them, like you, and they turn out to be the wonderful people, and they leave as friends, and they almost all of them come back.
That's so
like
great. That's so cool. And that, I talk about that a little bit when I say this a lot. You might have heard me say it, Silvia. I know Ed's heard me say it lots of times. If you want to restore your faith in humanity, go on tour, because you're going to meet the most amazing humans. And the same is true on the other side. Like I say that to musicians, but if you're a non-musician, and you have the space and the capability to do so, you should host a musician in your home, or even a concert, because you're going to get the same thing. It's not a one-way thing. That's a two-way thing. So it's just amazing, the relationships that you've cultivated with the people that you've had in your home and in your shop, Silvia. And I thank you for that.
Yeah. You've become such a good friend, and I really love you, and I would never have wanted to miss that.
Same here.
That's so great. Well, I'm just thrilled you owned a tea shop, because I love tea, and it's fun to actually see all the different kinds of tea and
chocolate.
And chocolate, yeah.
There's chocolate there too.
Originally, why did you want to do a tea shop? Was that, I couldn't remember. I'm sure you told me this before too. But what was the impetus?
How much time do you have? It's another long story.
Go for it. We got plenty of time right now.
I had to move. I had to move cities for love, because I used to live in Frankfurt and met a guy from Cologne. And people who live in Cologne never move to Frankfurt, because Cologne is the place to be. So after 2 years of a long distance relationship, I had to decide to move to Cologne, and there I needed a new job. And I used to work in a tax consultant's office, so doing tax declarations and bookkeeping for other people. And it was a nice office environment, nice people working there, but the job itself was boring. So I didn't want to do that job anymore, or not in Cologne, in another office. And I thought, okay, what can I do? And then my boyfriend and I were walking through like a shopping mall or something, and he said, you can open, like a cafe or a coffee shop, because there were plenty of them. And then I said, I don't drink coffee, I only drink tea, And a week later, he came with his arms full of these catalogs and price lists. I've contacted some tea suppliers, and a year later, we did it. Open a tea shop.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It just decided. Wow, that was pretty. That was pretty nice. You just found all of these tea suppliers catalogs.
And you have such a knowledge for tea too. Like one of my favorite memories from being in your tea shop is when we first got there and you're like, let's have some tea. What do you like? What are your interests? And do you want it for the health or for the flavor? And then we went around just smelling all the different teas and learning about all the different health benefits behind them. And then you just found the best tea for us. And my mom, who says hi, I have to bring her back the olive tea every year because she loves it.
Yeah, my bestseller, which has traveled throughout the whole world with all the musicians. Olive tea is the musician's tea. Yeah.
Interesting.
With you, it has traveled to the US, with other friends as well already, to Canada, to South Africa, England, France, of course, New Zealand several times, Australia. So,
what is it about
tea.
That particular tea that resonates with musicians, do you think?
Because I recommend it to the people. And with the story I tell with that one, they all want it. And it's good. So, and they all like it.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. What was the last concert you did before? I'm guessing Germany had to shut down. Were you doing concerts earlier this year?
That was funny because I only start at the beginning of March because it's getting quite cold in my shop. When it's cold outside, it's also cold inside, and I don't have heating because of the chocolate. I don't want to heat the shop and then cool the chocolate, so I just leave the shop cold and get something a big sweater on or something. So I don't know how much in Fahrenheit, but in Celsius it's sometimes 13 degrees. I don't know. So it's quite cold. So for musicians, they got cold hands for their guitars. So I start in March. And the first concert I did was on 9th of March. And Corona was already there, but we thought, but it's just this small virus, can't hurt us. And I remember Ashley was supposed to come over on the 11th of March, and that was already cancelled. So on 9th of March we did it, and that was the last one we did.
Oh man.
Yep. Yeah. I was supposed to fly in I was flying in on March 10th, and I was going to immediately get on a train and spend one night with Silvia just so we could kind of see each other, because I was coming in to help my sister who lives in Paris with some babysitting, and because she had some trips and things planned. So I just remember the two of us, Silvia and I, were kind of like glued to the TV, like, what is this coronavirus and what's it going to do? And I'm like, should I come? Should I not come? And I can't. I think I canceled on March 8th, and on March 9th, all international travel had shut down. So it's like, well, guess good thing I didn't come, because I probably would have been stuck there, which also may not have been so bad.
Right.
You would still be here.
Yeah, probably. Are you looking for a roommate? Because
and at that time, I remember we all thought this would be over in like 2 months, or you plan to come over in October and whatever. And all the shows or all the events in Cologne were rescheduled to September. That's so far away. Yeah, everything's been canceled still.
Yeah, that's kind of what we did too. Like, we were kind of planning ahead. I mean, Ashley had was going to do the tour next month, but in June we were kind of like, okay, what can we salvage for September? Because it should hopefully clear up by then. Yeah, that didn't happen at all.
Yeah.
Nope. And it's just, I think we all got to the point where it's like, well, we give up. Because it was like, in March we're like, okay, well, let's look at April. And then April we're like, okay, May. And May we're like, June? And June we're like, September. And then September we're like, F it. We're out of here. Just let me know when you want us back, Corona, and we'll plan from there.
You can't just stop planning, but you, because if you don't plan anything, there's nothing. So you need to plan, but then be ready to replan again and again and again.
Yeah, but you've had a couple of outdoor shows recently. No, do I have that wrong?
Yes, yeah, you did that as a bonus, because the second half when we went all outside, and it was so nice, and then one of the shows planned for June was a nice guy from Cologne. He's from New Zealand, but he moved to Cologne for love, for his girlfriend. So he's a New Zealand musician from Cologne, living in Cologne. And he came to the shop like 2 weeks before, and he said, I guess we have to cancel. And I said, hey, I've got an idea. You are a street musician. You know it. You don't have, you have the experience. Well, why don't you do street music in front of the shop? And I put 10 chairs outside, because you're legally allowed to meet up with 10 people in public and private. So 10 people on 10 chairs outside. And we announced that, and people loved it.
Oh, that's so great.
I just remember that was one of my favorite memories from last year's tour, is playing your show. And as Silvia mentioned, we played the first half inside, and
it was hot.
I think it was
really hot.
It was hot, and so Silvia was like, "Do you want to just move outside?" And we were like, "Sure, let's give it a shot." So everyone had, and a lot of people showed up to that show, which our friend Kai even showed up, had made the journey from, from Haus Eifgen.
In Weimelsgassen.
Yep. And everyone just kind of took all their chairs, and our friend Tom was there, and it was a really nice audience, and a couple people who had seen us the year before came back as well. Yep. And then some new people. So they all took their chairs and they sat outside, and we played right outside the shop, and it was such a hot day, and it had just cooled down enough that it was like perfect outside. And I just remember looking around at this beautiful audience outside of Silvia's amazing tea shop, and the sun was like right in the golden hour, and there's a little street there, because Silvia lives in Cologne, but she also lives in this kind of small subdivision of it that feels a lot like more like a small town than Cologne is a big city. And there's a street, and on the street there's shops and there's restaurants, and all just like very quaint small little street. And I remember looking out at the street, and the bicyclists are passing by, and a few of them stopped and stood there and listened, and then like the chef from the restaurant we were at the night before came out, and he's got his like chef attire on, and then the woman who I didn't know, but there was a woman in the upstairs apartment across the street, and she like flew her window open and was like hanging out her window and listening. And I'm just looking around at the street scene, and it felt like, I felt like Belle in Beauty and the Beast, but the German musician version. I'll never get. And I know Alice actually talks about, Ed's mom talks about that show a lot, because she watched the live streaming of it, and she talks about how magical it was from that end of it, and she wasn't even there. So I think everyone just felt the magic of that show, and it was really special.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, I'm done.
I remember that. That was a really fun.
I'm reliving it.
I know. Me too. It was great.
I'm kind of noticing a pattern though. Is it common for people to move to Cologne for love?
Yes.
It is. Okay.
Why is that?
Yeah, because you at the same time you fall in love with the city. Not only with the people, but also with the city itself, with the vibe, the atmosphere. Yeah. And
I'm sorry to say this on the live stream, but to anyone other cities in Germany, but Cologne is definitely my favorite city in Germany.
Yeah. Same here, but I think that's also has to do with something because Silvia's there.
Yeah, that also has a big part to play in it. But yeah.
But it is. I know. Yeah. We had a few friends visit. Again, I'm saving the one story for later in this podcast, because we have a video and a photo to go with it. But I'll mention again when Randy came to visit and met up with us, our good friend Randy, who lives in California. And he loved it too, and he like did all this research on it too, and was like, "Oh, there's this Turkish area that we should go check out." And we all went to dinner there, and
that was good.
Yeah, and he's like, "The Lock Bridge." I'm like, "How do you know all of this?" And he like took me on a tour of Cologne. That it was pretty cool. And then also Silvia and I share a love for this thing called Mundolingo. Which is there's only like 10 cities around the world that this happens at, by the way. The one is in Paris. I think there's one in New York. And I can't remember where else, but Cologne also hosts a Mundolingo, which is a place where people can go and practice speaking all the languages they speak. And you do so by showing up, and they have the different flags of the different countries sitting on the entrance table. And so you get I think you get a little name tag, and then you grab the flags of the country that you speak, your first language being the first flag. And then a lot of people have 7 tags, and you're like, oh my God, I had one every time because I'm American. And I love going to Mundolingo with Silvia because a lot of people like to practice their English there. So they want to talk to me, even though I have one lonely flag. And I've just met some really, really cool people there. And in fact, it kind of sparked a whole thing for the three of us, a whole journey for the three of us from there, because Silvia said, well, you do speak more than one language. You speak the language of music. And then that led Ed and I to going, wow, is music a language? And it was just this really deep question that we were exploring so much that we decided to run a documentary on it, which we will finish one of these days. There was a bunch of hiccups on that, which I don't care to get into right now. But yeah, so now Silvia made music flags for Mundolingo. So now when you show up to the Mundolingo in Cologne and you pick the language, your language flags.
Wait a second.
You can pick
be
music.
Back in a second.
Oh, she's going to go get one, I think. Let's see. Yeah, that was really neat that you guys did that.
Yeah.
Do you see that?
Oh, nice.
Yay.
Yeah, there it is.
I don't know where to put it. There it is.
That's the famous music tag.
Yeah.
So, just changing the face of Mundolingo over here, that's all.
Yeah, you guys went to that quite often. That was I'm guessing they've suspended for the time being.
Yes, but Julia and I have made Mundolingo next level, because we started picnics. And the first day, that was 1st of June, then when they announced you can meet up in public with 10 people, we did a picnic and invited 10 people.
Oh.
But for the first day, we were only 3. A week later, we were 10. 2 weeks later, we decided, let's do 2 groups of 10, so 20. And nowadays we're 40. And
oh my gosh.
Now it's getting too cold for picnics. So we're meeting up inside in a bar at tables, so separate tables, 10 people each table, or more tables than that, but not all together, to be a bit, keep a little distance at least.
Yeah.
And then I'm doing this like an online check-in for the people, so I can keep track who's coming. And and from that, David, like yesterday he announced it, from that David made Mundolingo the 3rd level. We're going to have like different language groups, like the French groups meets up there on that date, and you can sign up there. And this will be the Spanish group, like maybe a Spanish restaurant. There will be 10 people meeting there speaking Spanish.
Oh wow!
And then there can be an American group in an American burger bar, and for 10 people, stuff like that. So
that's so cool.
There won't be a big Mundolingo for 200 people, but lots of small ones.
No, that's great. I mean, that's kind of exactly what all of us have had to do. We've had to like take whatever we were doing and rearrange it so we can keep doing it.
Yeah, that's also some big creativity. Not just sit down and say, oh, I don't know what to do. No, just be creative, do something, at least a little bit, change something.
Yeah, well, it's funny, we're actually this podcast is sitting atop some German technology right now.
That's right.
Jamulus, the software that Ash and I used to communicate with each other, was written by a guy in Aachen. And because he needed to rehearse with his bandmates who had all left because they had jobs in other cities, so they all lived, 200, 300, 400 kilometers away. And he's like, I still want to rehearse with you people. So he built a software that allowed people to do that. And that's what we're using.
Yep.
Out of necessity, they're born some great ideas.
Yep. Absolutely. So, how has the shop's business been since the pandemic? Has it been slowed down, or is it the same? Or
for me personally, for my shop, it's been really literally the same. So I didn't have to close at all because I sell food, tea and spices and olive oil and all food stuff. So food was allowed, and people still buy tea, maybe even more than before, because when you're doing home office and you're working from home and don't have the free coffee in your office, but you're sitting at home, you drink more tea than normally.
It's true. I do.
So I don't think it's summer now, and I sell much less tea in summer anyway. So, but it's not Corona related. So I'm good.
Wow, that's fascinating. I'm honestly surprised to hear that. I wasn't sure how it was going to hit, smaller businesses like yourself, that hopefully wouldn't get, they've been just ravaged here in the US for most of the summer. So
yeah, so I was really happy to hear that things were just kind of kept on as normal for you, Silvia. That's so nice to like, especially to have and know someone who has some sense of normalcy. Just kind of makes me feel more connected by association, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
No, it does.
Yeah, really, I can't complain at all, because even during the lockdown, at least I had my working day with less people, which also was quite nice. So they sometimes they called ahead or emailed, and then they just came to the door, picked up their tea and left. And sometimes they bought the double amount, so to have to store something, and I had much less work, but the same amount of money in the evening. So that was nice. And so I wasn't so lonely. I was lonely at night or in the evenings, because instead of going to concerts, to readings, to meet up with friends, I just went home and read like 30 books since then, or 25, 30, 35 books. I don't remember. So I sat at home reading. My cat was happy, sitting on my lap and reading again. But in the morning, I could go to the shop, talk to normal people. So I wasn't so lonely.
That's good. That's good. I mean, I think that's what a lot of people are struggling with right now is especially people who do enjoy going out a lot, is that they're essentially being forced to stay inside because it can be dangerous to go out. So I think finding new way, hopefully people are finding new ways to communicate with each other so that you can at least try to, get some human connection out there.
Yes. Yeah. In the beginning, I did so many video chats also with Ashley and the house party chat with the Mundolingo people.
Yeah.
Yep.
So much more than ever before. And that it gave a kind of connection. What I missed most, of course, was the physical touch. No hugs.
Yeah.
That was so difficult.
Yeah.
But at least seeing people, talking to them, that was nice.
That's good. I'm really glad you're still that Mundolingo has still survived. It didn't just
Yes.
completely collapse, and then you have to try and redo it again when everything gets
Oh,
opened up.
We've got a WhatsApp group. I did it with you together with Julia, with 130 people now in the WhatsApp group.
Wow.
And they're lining up for the events. I'm posting the next event for Wednesday or tomorrow at 11. And you can be sure that at the end of the day, it will be sold out. All 40 places taken.
Wow.
So cool.
Yeah, you just really hit the ground running on that. And I think it was maybe a little or happened organically and unexpected because I was joining in, and I still join into the Mundo Lingo groups every once in a while. And I see who's live on House Party, and I just kind of pop in, and there's usually a random person or two, and then they have to hear. And then Sylvia's like, "How are you?" And I update Sylvia, and then these like random people in the chat have to hear all about my life, which I'm sure is super uninteresting.
But most of them have already heard about you because I tell them all know the story of the music flag.
Oh
yeah.
Right. I know I'm famous, Ed.
Yeah.
I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it.
It's my one claim to fame. I thought it might be music, but no, this is it. Just by association with Sylvia.
Well, we're really, really just tickled that you were able to join us today, and we got to chat and catch up. It's so great. I'm really
The pleasure was
relieved
all mine.
that you're doing well. We just had one more question, and this is something that we ask everybody that's appeared on the podcast so far. If you were to have any superpower at all, what would it be? And anything. You can think of anything you want.
I don't know. I really don't know. Give me some examples. What could it be?
Like
being,
invisibility.
like flying, like being
Invisibility,
invisible.
flight, telepathy,
You can make one up.
telekinesis, anything. Yeah, you could even kind of make one up.
They've all got their merits. I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe invisibility, so I could sneak up everywhere and
Yeah.
go up to my favorite musicians, go backstage everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, there you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. No, what you really need to do with that is just hang out with Ashley all the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
'Cause she is a wizard at getting
I am.
backstage.
I am the best. I basically like made it a personal conquest to get backstage at every concert I go to, no matter who I'm with. So
I've heard so many stories about you got backstage at this concert, It's
did.
amazing. Invisibility, yeah. So mine was to fly.
Yeah.
Mine's still to fly.
Yeah.
I think invisibility. I think that's a great way to use your invisibility powers, though, Sylvia. It's like it's just to enjoy certain pleasures in life that you wouldn't get to otherwise. That's a fantastic use of that power.
Absolutely. Where can people find out more about T-Day Cologne?
Just come into the shop. No, of course I've got a website, but I must admit I'm a bit lazy and it's not very updated.
That's okay.
I've got a Facebook page, which is also it's a bit more updated, but also I'm a bit lazy about that. And yeah, so they can sign up to my newsletter on my website to be informed about shows and everything. I'm also on Instagram, but also I'm there. Really need to get together with Ashley and make like a coaching how to do Instagram. She's so wonderful on Instagram.
Yeah, she's excellent.
These stories, these pictures, and I need to do that also, but I don't have the. I don't know.
You know, I should do a segment on that and one of the upcoming podcasts on like tips and tricks for Instagram, because I have figured it out a fair amount in the last like year, but I put a lot of work into it. So thank you for saying that. But I'll help you anytime, Sylvia.
I need tips and tricks, but I need the motivation to to do it.
Yeah.
Just to start it and not forgetting it. Sometimes I make pictures of a new tea and post it, and then for 3 weeks I forget it, and then I should do something. Then I do 2 things in a row, and then 3 weeks nothing. So.
No, I get it. I'm the same way with Instagram.
Yeah.
So it's okay. Yeah, absolutely. Get in touch with Ash. She can help you with that.
Totally.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're really happy you're able to join us. Give a hug to Nelly for us as well.
Nelly.
One of my favorite cats in the world.
Same.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll be able to visit you again soon and
You're
play another
always
show.
welcome, as long as you like. And yeah. And I hope hopefully soon.
Oh, God, I hope so.
I hope so too.
I miss you, friend.
Yeah, I miss you too. And I will come to see you in America as well.
Oh, yeah.
To explore your beautiful country.
You're welcome
Let's
here.
see what next year brings.
Yeah, you're welcome anytime, of course.
Yes.
All right, we'll say bye for now.
I love you.
And it's good to see you.
Good to see you.
Bye.
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 I love Silvia so much.
I know Silvia's probably one of the nicest people we've ever met in our travels.
Definitely.
And it's and just what she does again is great for it's great for the scene because again, like, you know, we don't have there's time, and it's getting even worse now with coronavirus, where the number of venues is shrinking rapidly. And, you know, people are pivoting to house concerts and stuff like that. But again, it's a change that's going to take a while. And so when you have wonderful people like Silvia who host these things at her tea shop, I mean, it's such a great boon for us as musicians. We get to meet a lot of new people, and the concerts are really chill. They're low key, and you know, she puts us up, and we get to tour around a beautiful city in Cologne. It's just, you know, it's such a great experience, and I think it shows a lot of respect towards music and the people who make it that you may not get otherwise.
Absolutely.
So
it's I mean, we're going to get to talking about house concerts some more today during the tips and tricks segment. So hopefully you stick around to learn and hear more about that. Because Silvia, I mean, obviously her concerts don't run in her home, so it's not a house concert per se, but it sure does feel like it runs very similar in a similar fashion. So I would still put it in that category.
I would too. Yeah. I definitely would. I think, you know, I would say it's part of the same circuit because it's kind of an intimate experience in someone's place, you know, and a small shop. I would totally feel the same way. Like we played some bookshop in LA somewhere one time.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I felt like that was a house concert. I didn't think that was like a venue.
Yeah, you're right.
So I think, you know, a lot of it does depend on the setting, but yeah, I totally would call it a house concert. Yeah.
And I'm excited to talk more about that today because we're really passionate about them and that kind of setting. Like Ed says, it's just there's a lot, and it's international too. It's not not different from one country to the next. They're all about the same because we've done house concerts in England and Germany. And all over the USA, and they all run about the same. So, yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So, in continuing with our talk of Cologne, Ash sent along. I had the photo. I'll put that up, but I have to load the video still. but she shared a great photo with me.
Yeah.
That leads into a really, really fun story. So what do you got for us today,
Yeah.
Ash?
So this is so welcome to Show and Tell, everybody. And so I really wanted to find a photo today because as you can tell, we have a lot of shared experiences with Silvia from our time spent in Cologne. And I was like, okay, well, what photo am I going to share today that's going to kind of incorporate one of those stories? And I don't know why I kind of like forgot about this for a second, and then I just entered Cologne in my Google Photos drive, and this video popped up. Are you showing the video first, Ed?
I'm just going to do the photo because I got to load the video.
Okay, so the photo, what happened is we were playing in Cologne, Germany, and we have this very good friend of ours who's also a musician who also tours about as much as we do or did. And she, her name is Erica Sunshine Lee, and she's a friend of ours from Nashville. And every once in a while, we cross paths with Erica because, like I said, she tours, 300 days a year like we do. So she happened to be touring in Italy the same summer that we were touring through Germany. And I said, well, it's just too bad that you're not. She's like, well, are you coming to Italy? And I said, no, but it's too bad you're not coming to Germany because it would be great to meet up with you. And she said, well, I'm passing through. I think.
What was the name of that restaurant? It was just down the street from Tea de Cologne.
I don't remember, but I think we went there again the following year after our show with Tom and Silvia, and I can't remember, but it's very loud, and there was even like some kind of concert happening in the room next door. And it was, we got those weird pizzas, those weird German pizzas that have like cream cheese on it or something, but they're really good.
Oh, that's right.
But
so I just that's a side note. I want to find out the name of that restaurant, and I searched for Tea de Cologne, and our picture is the one that comes up.
Yeah, I added that into Google Maps forever ago, and it's still there.
It's still the one that shows up. It was House Tut.
House Tut. Okay.
Yeah, right on the corner of on the corner, like a block away from Tea de Cologne. But yeah.
Yeah, great restaurant, great memory. So cool. I mean, there's something about Silvia's tea shop that's just like the meeting of the minds, because like I said, the next year we ended up meeting up with our friend Randy from California there. It's just you never know. So next time I go back, Silvia, if you're still watching, I might just show up with somebody else. You never know. You never know who it's going to be.
Yeah, some random American friend is just going to show up at Tea de Cologne.
We were going to do, we have a video now to share with you, which we thought about sharing another video involving Cologne, but we decided that maybe we would take a breath and we'll share that another day instead.
Yeah.
This comes from a short cover flip series that Ed and I did. We only did a couple of them, and then we got tired of doing them because it was so much work.
Yeah, it was a lot of work.
We're like, we'll do this once a month, and then we're like, oh my god, we'll never do this again.
Musically, it was really difficult.
Yeah, but it came across. Yeah, which for a change was your fault. Usually I'm the one with the dumb ideas. Like, let's do this really hard thing.
Yeah.
But Ed brought, and it came across my radar because this video didn't do that well upon its release as I thought it would. And I think we didn't spend a lot of time promoting it maybe, but we should throw it out around again because it's really fun. I've been performing the Disney song Part of Your World by Ariel, The Little Mermaid, quite a bit at my solo shows these days because I pretty much get told on a regular basis that I sound like a Disney princess. So I just decided to jump in and, oh yeah, you think so? Bam, Part of Your World. And people are like, oh my God. And it's a great party trick. So it's not the first time I started covering Part of Your World though, because Ed and I did it in minor.
Not the relative minor. We just took the same key and turned it into minor.
Which was very difficult. Very, very difficult. And I had mentioned this to my friend Dave recently, and I sent it to him, and he was like, he's a fantastic musician and guitar player, and he was like, these chords are just screwing me up, man. What the hell?
They had to totally change. Like, some of them, in order to try and keep the melody moves the same, the chords you have to use are just nuts.
Yeah, in a good way. Like, it's cool.
Yeah.
But if you may not notice so much, and if you're not a musician, you may just think, oh, that's like an interesting take. But if you are a musician and you hear the notes we're doing, you're going to be like, wow, that's different. Or maybe you'll hear it anyway. But we then, of course, decided, because we can't just like make things complicated and leave it there. We have to take it one step more complicated before we let it go. So we made a music video for it.
Yay.
We filmed it ourselves when we were in Colorado in the snow.
Yep.
And this is it.
Look at this stuff, isn't it neat? Wouldn't you think my collection's complete? Wouldn't you think I'm the girl who has everything? Look at this trove, treasures untold. How many wonders can one cavern hold? Looking around here, you'd think, sure, she's got everything.
I've got gadgets and gizmos aplenty. I've got who's its and what's its galore. You want thingamabobs? I've got 20. But who cares? No big deal. I want more.
I wanna be where the people are. I wanna see them dancing, walking around on those, what do you call them? Oh, feet. Flipping your fins, you don't get too far. Legs are required for jumping, dancing, strolling along down a, what's that word again? Street.
Up where they walk, up where they run, up where they stay all day in the sun, wandering free.
Wish I could be part of that world.
What would I give if I could live out of these waters? What would I pay to spend a day warm on the sand? Betcha on land they understand that they don't reprimand their daughters. Bright young women, sick of swimming, ready to stand.
I'm ready to know what the people know. Ask them my questions and get some answers.
What's a fire and why does it? What's the word? Bird. When's it my turn? Would I love to explore that shore up above? Out of the sea.
Wish I could be part of that
world.
Okay, that was Part of Your World in minor. And yeah, that was an exercise.
Yeah. Oh my God. Especially the trying to sing the harmony.
Harmonies.
Oh God. I still have nightmares.
The toughest part was just keeping everything in minor, because there's always going to be there's a half step that you have to hit. It's usually like a half step lower or a half step higher for the note, and to make sure it's still in key, and it's just really tough. And the chords all have to start at different positions, especially the beginning. You start with a major chord, oddly enough, another major chord. So it was kind of interesting exercise. Not sure I would ever do it again.
Well, and we never really learned to do it live because we just didn't. We were like, okay, we did it in the studio, and I don't think we can do it again. And we just didn't. I don't know.
I think we tried it once. Did we try it one time?
Maybe we just didn't put enough effort into learning it. It would have required a lot of rehearsal. So we every once in a while, one of our fans who dives deep into our B cuts will find this and be like, "Can you guys do that?" And we're like, "Nope, sure can't."
Yeah.
I couldn't if my life depended on it. So.
Yeah, the melody singing that would just be I don't know. I don't think we could do it again. And also, I note you may have noticed at the end of that we had a Patreon listed. That was when we were doing a Patreon for Witherwood. Mm-hmm. We are going to launch one for Crimes Against Folk.
Yes,
that is coming in October.
Yep.
We have the page pretty much ready to go, so we're just kind of telling everybody about it and getting ready. We'll make some announcement videos and stuff like that, so you can have more info.
Yep.
But stay tuned for that. We are going to launch a Patreon in October.
Yeah, and it's not going to be very expensive to join. Even we're going to offer a little private concert before each podcast, because we're going to stop including so much music in the podcast. So if you do support us on Patreon it's not even one of the higher tiers, it's one of the lower tiers, you'll be able to watch us actually perform before the show starts. So yeah, we're going to have all kinds of fun options for you guys, including just being able to join the chat for, $1 and going up from there.
So next, we're going to talk about house concerts. Yeah.
Do you hear that? That's the smoke fire.
That's the smoke.
Fire. Fires. Whatever. My voice ain't working so good anymore. But yeah, we're talking about house concerts.
Yep. So, house concerts again for artists. They're a fantastic way to just have a really good concert experience and actually make a decent amount of money too, depending on how the night goes. But even still, even if the money is less, you still kind of get a little bit more out of it on the in terms of fan engagement, just overall concert experience. It's totally worth it.
Yeah.
So, and as a host, you also get a lot out of it as well. You get to connect with artists on a more personal level than perhaps you wouldn't be able to if you went to saw them at a bar or at a smaller venue. So
yeah, I mean, we talked earlier about getting backstage. You basically are backstage and get a concert at a house concert. So there's a few reasons why we want to kind of break them down for you, because they're great in our opinion for artist and host and attendee, everybody gets something really magical out of these shows. I've never played a bad house concert. We always walk away feeling very fulfilled, and it feels like the audience does too. So yeah, we kind of wanted to go through different kinds of house concerts, what makes them so special, how you book them, how you host them, and how you attend them. Starting with, the different kinds of house concerts, because we mentioned earlier about Silvia's show at T Day Cologne, and even though it's not at her house per se, it still is a house concert, and it has checks all the other boxes on that realm. So it really does feel like it, and is one, in my opinion. So there are house concerts that can happen at people's homes. There are house concerts that can happen in little shops. We've done a few library shows as well. And Ed, do you think those feel like house concerts a little bit?
They kind of toe the line. I think, like we played at the Escondido Library, and then we've also played at, I'd say Green Guitar Folk kind of toes the line in where was that, Kansas? Where there are bigger audiences, much bigger audiences, and they're in sort of, they're not in traditional venues, but they're not in somebody's house.
Yeah.
But I think it's kind of the same idea. It's kind of there's an individual or a small organization putting it on, and they're trying to create an environment that allows you to connect with the artist easier by creating an environment that lets you listen to their music better and lets you appreciate what they're doing more often. So so it can be kind of a gray area too, and if you find one of those gray areas, you should jump on them because they're really cool. There are house concerts that are just kind of existing. The existing house concert series, they usually happen about once a month, and often that concert host will even have it on it's the third Thursday of every month or whatever, so everyone knows when the concert is. So they don't happen that much. You only have 12 opportunities a year to see an artist at one person's house, so that whoever is hosting them is going to have the top musicians play, because there are hundreds of people that submit to their house concert and they're only going to pick 12 a year. So basically, if you're going to an existing house concert series, if you've never heard of the artist before, just go, because I guarantee you they're going to be amazing and you're somebody you probably never heard of before. You also can, we've asked friends to host one for us before, even if they've never done it. And those are really fun too, because especially for first time hosts, it feels really like it's an experience you're never going to forget. Do you remember that one time when you guys came to our house and we did that concert and we set up the stage just for you? Yes, of course we remember that. We're going to remember that forever too. And I bet your audience will also. And sometimes that's what sparks an existing show. Sometimes people have just decide, you know what, Witherword's my favorite band. I want them to come play in my house, and we set up of how you can do that. And then all of a sudden they've got a house concert series and having a bunch of different people. Or sometimes it's just a one and done, and that's okay too. Or a few people just have us, and that's also cool. And then there are a few other kinds of things. There's I only want to touch on So Far for a minute, because I could really get on my soapbox about that, and I'm not going to do that today. So Far Sounds, you may have heard of them. They are a kind of a house concert series. It's a little bit different because they host 3 musicians per show. Everybody plays 4 songs, which, to me, I feel like it's kind of tough to really get into your show when you only play 4 songs and you're done. It doesn't have that the house concert experience is like a thing. You show up and you play your first set and you chat a bunch. One of the benefits that we've certainly noted during doing house concerts is that you have a more intimate connection with your audience. most of the time, I mean, you certainly see this with So Far, and you see it with most places because houses are, they're even the big rooms are still kind of small for having 20 or 30 people. Everybody's right in front of you, first of all. So you are physically very close to them. But also, people tend to really respect what you're doing. So they are going to kind of not talk. They're not milling around while you're playing. They're going to sit down and watch you and listen to you the whole time. So you do have a more intimate, attentive audience. And it's a nice transition. Performing at house concerts are it's a nice transition from doing a wine bar circuit, or a brewery circuit. Those are things that we did for a long time, and we were just like, these are fine, but it's a lot of work for not a whole lot of money, and the audiences are not fantastic. You still make fans at those shows, but you don't have the engagement that you're going to get at a house concert. And the same is true for a listener. A listener who wants to go actually see live music and discover new artists. A bar is usually a terrible place to do it because it's hard to hear who's playing sometimes. There's so many distractions happening, televisions and loud people and whatever. So going to a quiet, intimate area where you can actually sit down and listen is a fantastic way to discover new artists as well and actually hear what their music sounds like. Typically, because of that, as a performer, you're going to get a lot more, I think, long-lasting fans. Your fans are going to stick with you a lot longer. It's easier to get email list signups for sure. Easier to sell merch because, again, you have a lot more of an opportunity to connect with your audience, and as a result, you tend to make more money at a house concert. We've noticed a lot of house concert hosts like to do them so that they are able to pay the artists as much money as they can because they get it. Whether they were musicians themselves or not, they understand that there are a lot of situations where musicians don't make a lot of money for performing out, or when they do, it's for a really, really terrible quality gig. So the fact that the house concert networks exist and that they are typically a lot more generous with the money makes them a lot more valuable to pepper in to your schedule when you can. Or some artists we know just that's all they do anymore. They maybe they'll do the odd performing arts center now and again, but a lot of some artists we know, that's all that they do are house concerts because they get better audiences and they make more money.
Word of mouth is a really good way to do it. Like we've played a lot of really beautiful shows just by like asking our friends, and often you'll find like, especially your fan base, because they're music lovers, you'll often hear, "Oh, we've always wanted to do that."
Oh yeah,
and then they do, and then it's just a great experience for everybody, and it's cool for them too, especially if you have like, I think almost every band, especially if you've been around for a year or more, you have super fans, and they might really want this experience of just getting you to perform for them in your home. It's like this really thing that only they are going to have. I mean, you do them all, yeah, sure, you might do them all over, but still, like that's that, like it's a connection between you and that super fan that you get to keep forever, and it's always really, really magical. And we've even done like private ones where we just show up and play for with family, and they instead of booking us, they're like, hey, well, you just come do this, or like it's a tier on your Patreon page or something like that. So you never know. You can send the word out. Send it out on Facebook. Say, who wants to host me for a house concert? You never know who's going to reply, or message or mention it to your fans or your friends in passing. Like, yeah, I'm looking for a house concert here or there. We have a friend, Steve Goody, who books a house concert tour almost every year except for this one, where he he fills in a full cross-country tour. It's like he starts off by pegging where he wants to go, and he marks the cities where he's going to be stopping in. And if he doesn't have a show yet, it's in red. And the minute that he books a show there, it's in green. So if you're a fan of Steve, you can kind of see, oh, he's coming to Phoenix. Oh, and it's still red. Awesome. Let me mark that green and book him for a show. And it's a pretty simple process, and it's really easy for you. All you have to do is, because a lot of people go, well, I don't know how. And you go, well, just say yes, and we'll show up and take care of the rest. I mean, the musicians really know what they're doing, especially if they've done it before. So you can really, really trust them. All you have to do is get the word out to your friends and your and get them to show up. But we'll touch on that next in the next little portion of this. A good way to find house concerts beyond word of mouth is look on Facebook groups. There are a lot of Facebook groups that exist for house concerts. So you can kind of just do a search, or just a search on regular Facebook and search house concerts and see what comes up. And if it's in a city that you are in, or that you are planning on going to, or if you want to find one in your city, like, if you're in St. Louis and you're like, you just look on Facebook's house concert St. Louis, a bunch will probably pop up. You can click on them. You can probably message the host right from there. How do I go, or how do I get booked there?
Yeah.
Another great way is to go to a conference called Folk Alliance. Is a great way to make connections for house concert hosts, because there are a lot of them show up there to Folk Alliance. Not all of them, but a lot of them do show up. There's also like sub cities that will have their regional conferences. So Far West is one of them. Farm is one of them. If you look up Folk Alliance and regional, you can find the one in your region. Those are the regional ones, and we are huge fans of Far West. We've been showcased at it, and we become very good friends with a lot of the people who attend and who run it. And we're actually going to be doing some episodes coming up that are just geared towards giving them some love. But go to these conventions and talk to some people. I want to do house concerts, and you'll be amazed at what you'll uncover. And that said, they are specifically geared towards folk artists, but I wouldn't be afraid to break that mold if you're, in pop or rock. You never know. And there are house concerts out there that are geared towards your type of music. If you're a jazz artist, there are jazz house concerts out there that have literally replied to me and said, "We think you're great. We only host jazz artists, so we won't be able to book you ever." Or there's one, I even got that from like a Hawaiian, like they're like, "Sorry, we only have Hawaiian music." Like, so
what?
Yeah, it gets,
I want to go to that one.
right? It gets really specific. Or classical. I've come across a classical one, which would be really cool to go to.
Yeah.
Really good musicians at those, right? So don't be afraid to break the mold. Go check out some conferences. They really do open doors for you. There is a great website. This is probably like, if you're looking to book house concerts, pay attention, because this is probably the best network I've seen for this sort of thing, and I'm about to pull that curtain down for you right now, and it's called Undiscovered Music Network, and there is a website that I'll find for you and post in the comments in a moment. Undiscovered Music Network is it's an online tool that posts all the house concerts, and sometimes they have links on, because often you'll find a house concert and you'll be like, I don't know how to contact these people because they won't have their information on the website or whatnot. But Undiscovered Music Network has a lot of them, and if they don't, you can still do Google searches. You might have to do a little bit of digging, but you can find the contact info for sure. No, Ed found it. Did you put it in the notes there in the chat there? Thank you. And another great thing is just good old-fashioned Google, and that is how I use that tool to book a lot of our shows internationally and locally, and house concerts. Just find keywords house concerts in San Diego and see what comes up, and you can find ways to contact the host from there. House concerts, Hawaiian house concerts, maybe the one will show up, stuff like that. So
definitely just get just get on your computer and start combing through all these resources. I know this year is a little tough because a lot of the conferences got postponed or canceled, but a lot of the doesn't mean the communities don't still exist. So even if the conference is canceled, look up the conference anyway, because you're liable to find a lot of groups surrounding those conferences that are still very much active and you could start networking now, and then by the time you're ready to start booking, you've already made the connections, so you're ahead of the game. Once you've got once you're a host and you've started wanting to book artists for your own concert, how in the heck do you actually host them? Reach out to the artist. Make sure that you're communicating with the artist in terms of what equipment they need, what equipment you have, what your room is like. Send a few pictures of the room that you're going to have them in, and make sure that way we can see as artists. Okay, I need to bring this setup or this setup, because oftentimes artists will have kind of their own setup that they tour with anyway. If they're a touring artist or if they've toured ever, they have their own setup. And a lot of times it's usually pretty small. So that only helps a house concert environment, because obviously, there's not a whole lot of room. Offer them a place to sleep for the night. If you've got a spare room, or if you've got a couch or an air mattress in a room, whatever you can, that goes a long way, because lodging costs are one of the largest costs that touring musicians incur. Mm-hmm. And it's just a nice gesture. Because that way the artists can kind of take their time tearing down. They have more time to meet with your guests. They have more time to spend with you. So you get a chance to actually hang out with them all night if you want to, or all afternoon, whenever you want to do the show. It only increases that sort of bond between the concert host and the artist is a lot more willing to tell other artists about your concert and the great experience they have if you offer them things like a room to stay in.
Oh yeah.
As far as payment goes, you can pay them directly a set amount as long as you're clear about it before everybody gets there. Or you can ask your audience for a donation, typically in the $15 to $20 range is what we've seen. You can go as high as $25, you can go as low as $10. And make sure that it's clear to both the artist and the audience. A nice thing to have is just if you've got somebody who can kind of be an enforcer, that would be good. Someone who's politely encouraging people to to donate. That goes a long way, because
I'm laughing.
There are a lot of people.
The one show of the guys who were like, that was
Soundgarden.
Yeah, they walked around with their tip bucket, and people would put. I do not recommend doing this for the record, but they walked around with their tip bucket. And people would put money, and they go, "That's not enough." We made so much money at that show.
We made a lot of money that night, granted.
But please don't do that. I was like, oh, if I had seen that, I would have been mortified. But
yeah.
After the fact, it was kind of great.
Yeah. So make sure that, that helps. If you want to be that person, that's fine. But just make sure it's clear to the audience that this is an event that they should donate to, because they are supporting this artist who has traveled all this way to play for them. Make sure you reinforce the value of what the artist is giving them, because that's the whole reason that the artist is doing this in the first place. They're getting a lot of value out of this, and they're getting a lot of meaningful connection out of this with not just you, the host, but with the audience as well. So providing, making sure that the audience respects that value is one of your top priorities as a concert host. So yeah, you can either pay them up front, or you can have kind of a pass the hat kind of thing go around as well. That's very common in Germany for a lot of concerts. As far as how many people to expect there, artists kind of expect around 10 to 15, I would think 10 to 15 people. But I mean, depending on the size of the house, we've had, around 30 or 50 or even around 100 or more, just depending on the size of the room. Don't feel too bad. But just try to if not a lot of people show up, but just try to encourage as many people as you can reasonably fit in your space to show up. You may not want to go too crazy because then it creates kind of an adverse experience for people. Make sure that you have enough space, enough seating. If you need, these are sort of the logistical things that you can work out with the artist and say, hey, how many people would you like? How many people should I expect? That sort of thing. Make sure that you can accommodate all those people. A lot of hosts like to do things like set out food, maybe provide drinks. It's up to you whether you want to do that. You can also make it kind of a potluck so that people can bring along what they want. That's kind of nice because then you don't have to pay for any of that up front. And it's a little bit less of a mess to clean after. So,
yeah.
How you want to organize kind of the refreshment part and the audience logistics part is up to you. Just kind of make sure you don't go too big for your own space, and that way you don't create an adverse environment for your host, for your artist, and for your guests.
Yeah. So, all that
We
said,
listed a few.
Yeah, we kind of made a short list, because quite honestly, I can't remember the names of some of them. So it's a short list, but of some of our favorite house concerts that we've done over the years. And it's kind of a shame because we had a lot of really cool sounding house concerts on the docket for the summer, including Washington, D.C. and in Omaha, Nebraska, and just
a bunch of new ones that we hadn't played yet.
Yeah, that we were really looking forward to. But I'll just a shout out to a few of our favorites is obviously T-Day Cologne in Germany, which is Silvia's house concert, who we were talking to earlier. Another amazing show that we love is Connolly Concerts in Lichfield, England, and that's run by our friend David Connolly, who is featured in the photo from the show and tell segment of this show. He has a really lovely house concert, and he only does a few a year, but it is a regular show that he just kind of invites artists that he likes that are touring through on a whim. And they find a date that works between them, and they make it happen. And he has a really beautiful list of music fans, a lot of them that I know are watching now that have turned into great friends of ours because, you guys, we become friends with all of our fans, like most of you who are on this chat right now. Another one of our absolute favorites, and I think one of everybody's favorites, is Lakewood Concerts in Pittsburgh, Kansas. This house concert is so cool because this couple has built a stage in their living room, like permanent, year-round. Yeah. It's there. So when they host their monthly show, it's just there. And it's got a beautiful sound system, and Tony's really learned how to mix the sound, and it has it's an actual stage, and they decorate it really cool. They have a beautiful light system that they put in their living room. I mean, it's really something else, and they're not musicians themselves. They put this in their living room because they love live music that much, and they want that full experience of a concert, but in their living room. It's so cool. So yeah, they bring in the chairs every time for the show, and then they move them out and put their living room back together after that. But it's great. They're wonderful people. Great spread of potluck, as Ed mentioned earlier. They choose to do that, and a suggested donation. People are always generous, and a nice place to stay, and it's in a beautiful area too. It's right on a lake. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's beautiful down there.
Yeah, you want to take those last few, Ed?
Yeah, so there's also Fiddler's Crossing, which is in Tehachapi, California. This one's run by Peter Cutler, and a longtime audio engineer, so he's got a really good audio setup as well.
Yeah.
I mean, like he's got like a pro setup, so the sound is really good. He's cultivated a wonderful audience of people. It's in a kind of a little kind of strip mall office park place right off the main drag. And it's just a fantastic environment. Like he just really loves music, and he loves bringing new acts in. He also runs an open mic as well, that invites people. He invites people in to play as well. But for the house concert, it's a ticketed event, and he gives a really good recording after. So there's a lot of value for both the artist and the audience that Peter gives people. It's really nice. One of the one that Ashley alluded to earlier is called Soundgarden. This is in Hanover, Germany, and they only do 2 or 3 shows a year. So again, this is one of the things you have to think about if you're an artist looking at these, is that you have to plan quite a bit ahead of time. We got really lucky with this particular one. This was one you found on Undiscovered Music, right?
Yeah. Well, no. Oh, which brings me to
this is another one. Yeah,
it's
Sofa
it's about to get confusing. Not so far concerts, sofa concerts, like sofa concerts.
That's right.
This is, I think, mostly European, but it's a European website called sofaconcerts.com where you can actually just submit your show to a whole bunch of concert hosts all over. And I mean, you really have to submit to 100 of them before you get a few replies, but it does work out. And this is a perfect example of one that worked out.
That's right. And this particular concert, they had one opening, and they invited us along, and it was in the back of an apartment that these 3 German guys lived in, and they would just open their backyard up to their friends and other concert goers, and there'd be a big potluck along the wall. There's like a table where everybody puts their stuff, and there were 120 people at this particular concert, and you could have heard a pin drop. Like it was just silent, and everyone was listening, and everyone's very polite. And yeah, that was the one where we made. That's probably the most we've made at any house concert, because the hosts were very aggressive about collecting money from people.
It was great. They were so great too. We sparked up a really nice conversation with them, and Ed doesn't typically like to stick around after a show. He likes to go home and chill out, but he did that night. I mean, I think we were both there till 4 a.m. just chatting with a small group of the people who were hanging out and partying after. It was just a beautiful night, and the lighting that they had set up was gorgeous. It was such a nice one for us, a great memory. And we were at the time in particular, we were not used to playing for 120 people who weren't just wandering around a bar chatting. We were like, wow, they're all just sitting here listening to us, and probably the most epic buffet spread I've ever seen in my life.
It was incredible.
It was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, when you get 100 some odd people going to your concerts, I guess eventually you're going to get enough people to have a kind of spread like that.
Yeah.
Finally, Downtown Listening Room in Cincinnati, Ohio. This was one of the first ones we've played, I think, right? This was one of the first house concerts we played in our touring, one of the earlier ones. And I think we found out about this one from Steve Goody.
Yep, we sure did. He actually he introduced us. He messaged Scott and was like, "You should check these people out," which was really nice of him.
Yep. So our good friend Scott Skiebeck and his wife hosted, and they do such a fantastic job of hosting, and they love music. They're really good at bringing people in. They have a very good sound system as well. So the people who've done this for a little while have kind of figured it out. I think being a house concert host is interesting because you get to see, you really do get to see exactly what musicians do when they are running their own show. And so I think you can pick up on what they're doing, and then you can if you decide to sort of make a series out of your own, out of your house concert, then you start collecting the experiences that maybe the musician has a tough time with, and you replace those with your own. So again, setting up the sound. That's something that if you have that there, that's an added value to everybody. But the musicians especially appreciate it because it's just that much less stuff they have to bring. Providing food for everybody, so people can just kind of go and maybe they don't have to go to dinner beforehand, that sort of thing. Having a place for the artists to sleep. But these kind of things that a lot of these concerts have provided that make the experience that much better. So it's a big, it makes it makes the whole experience better. So that's mainly why we try to focus on house concerts, because they provide that sort of value. So
definitely. And yeah, just a few. I was just kind of thinking out in my head of a few honorable mentions. Like some of our other favorite house concerts are the ones that we've done where they've never done it before and they never did it again, but they still mentioned it to us about how great of an experience it was. That one of them being Sound Barn. Remember?
The Kronos.
Yeah, the Kronos in
Hildesheim.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's actually close to Hanover where we did Soundgarden.
Yeah.
It's about a half an hour south, I think, of Hanover.
Yep. And they came to our Soundgarden show the year prior, and they're like, "We think we want to do this." And so the next year, they had us in their barn, and we performed. And they have a beautiful, huge barn because they have horses, and we played like in the barn, like up in like the rafters, basically.
Yeah.
And the audience they put out like a bunch of lawn chairs or pool chairs, even like that kind of thing, out in the main area of the barn where usually the horses are prancing around. So it was really, really cool.
Yeah, that was Isabel
and Thomas,
and Tobias. Yeah. It's Isabel and Tobias,
sorry, yeah.
I believe. Yep. And their daughters Sophia and Anna.
Yeah.
Who I think Anna was really into horses and did a lot of work at the barn. But yeah, like that show was really fun just because we really like the Kronos a lot. They're really cool people.
Then we met them through Barb and Howard.
Barb and Howard, yeah. What else you got? Oh yeah, your parents threw one on there.
Yep, my parents. But yeah, both sets of my parents, my dad and my stepmom Kim, they had us for we did a few for them. They were really nice house concerts in their home, and they just invited all their friends out and got the church chairs into the living room, and we had a beautiful, like my dad and I will have that forever, that memory, which is cool. Yeah. And then my mom and Jim did one, and we specifically did a Simon and Garfunkel show for them because their friends all just love Simon and Garfunkel, and they all showed up, and we slightly suggested everyone show up in their 70s attire, and most people did, which was really fun.
Yeah.
So it became this like kind of costume event, and
that was a good one.
Yeah, everyone said that was the best party of the year. So that made them feel really cool because they get to have the best party of the year. And then we've done some from friends of ours in Loveland, Colorado. We've done a couple in Denver, Colorado for dear friends of ours. That one we did one for Karen, not a Tuscadero. What's the name of the place near Morro Bay? Oh my God. Anyway, the Central Coast, that was awesome.
Los Osos?
Thank you, Los Osos.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
That was probably one of our final shows in March, actually, before everything shut down. Back when I remember we all showed up and we're like, should we be here? We didn't really know because everything was kind of hitting the fan at that moment in time.
Yeah. That's right. That was for Karen Worcester.
Yeah,
that's right.
And lots more. If you're a house concert host and you're watching and you're listening, and we didn't mention you, it's just we love you so much.
We just don't have time.
Yeah, we got to move on. There's so many that we did, and so many fantastic house concerts out in the world. So if you're a musician, we highly recommend that you try and break into this circle because it's a fantastic circle to be in. If you've always wanted to host a show show, I recommend looking into 2021 and when things are hopefully back to normal and just doing it, because if you've always wanted to do it, and now is a good time to start thinking about it. And if you love live music and you are a fan, you should go seek some out. They'll welcome you with open arms, and you will absolutely love the experience. So go to a house concert, support your touring musicians that you don't hear on the radio, because those are the best ones in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Morro Bay. I got my Morro Bay mug.
Let's see. Alice asked, what is the minimum attendance you would need based on $10 a person to make it worth coming to the location? Assuming a U.S. location.
Right. Well, or if it's on your tour route, that changes drastically.
Yeah.
We like to flagship our tours with, or anchor our tours, I should say, with like one house concert per city we attend. And if it's not, and if you don't have too many people that are going to show up, or if you think your friends don't really have very much money or don't want to spend very much money, don't be scared to not host, because we'll still do them. Especially, I mean, God, it's so much better. We have to fill in our week if we're on tour, right? We would much rather go play for your 5 friends at $10 each. I mean, that's probably too low, but we would rather do that than book a bar. The bars they're hard on our voices. They're long shows. They're exhausting. It's much nicer to play for an hour. So you just never know if there's an artist that you love, and you're kind of think you're on the lower end of what you can pay, or what your friends or fans will pay, or the amount of people that will show up. Reach out. We've done them. We're like, especially in the music communities, because the musicians don't have very much money, so we'll offer a lower amount for them to come to, and we've had beautiful times, or we've been able to pair it with another show that maybe pays more. It's not like, I mean, we have to be able to afford to get there, but it's not necessarily always about the money. That's me being very vague.
But it does depend on certain factors. So it's like, if it's on the route, or if it's on an off night or whatever, it's we can get away with maybe a lower attendance. If it's very much out of the way, then we would probably expect more people to be there, or at least that's the hope. I'm not sure about setting expectations. Setting hard expectations is honestly not something that we do a lot with house concert hosts, because they're house concert hosts. They're not, they're not promoters at a venue. We're not going to hardball these people.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it does have to be worth our while if we're going way out of our way. So, 15, 20 people show up. That's fine. Mm-hmm. We've had some hosts kind of set a minimum regardless of how many people show up. So if that's something that you can do as a host, that's fine too. Like say, well, okay, you'll get this much, even if we don't meet a minimum amount of people, and then anything over that is yours to keep. So that's been we've seen that a few times.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and we've aside from Silvia, we know a few hosts that don't host the concert in their home. They find another space to do it. So if you really want to host a house concert and you don't want to do it in your home, you can still host the musicians and like put on the show somewhere else. Like we did that. We played for Dave Connolly's Connolly concerts twice. The first time was in his living room, and then the next year he moved, and he's like, I just don't think my new house is really suited for this. So he found us a separate venue to put on the show. We still stayed with him, and it was all felt very similar to the year prior, except for we just did the concert in another venue, and the venue was really cool.
Thanks once again for hanging out with us on this Sunday afternoon or Sunday night, depending on where you are in the world. Big thanks again to Silvia Legat from T de Cologne in Cologne, Germany. It was really, really great catching up with you.
Yeah.
So please do check out her shop. You can find it on Facebook if you just search T de Cologne. We'll put the links in the show notes and all that stuff. Don't forget to subscribe and review us on your favorite podcast app once the audio version comes out on Tuesday. And as always, you can catch this broadcast of the recording on Facebook, YouTube, or BandLab on Sunday afternoons.
Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for stopping by. Stay safe out there. And we'll see you next time.
Yeah. See you next week.